All right. Here we are, baby. Looks like we live. It took a little while. Apologies for the delay. I've been trying to go live for the last 5 minutes and StreamYard wasn't letting me. So we are now back. We are rocking and rolling. It's the Cadillac Championship. Friends, family, fans, welcome back to another episode of Back 9 Bets. It's a Tuesday. It's 3 o'clock Eastern. It's the Cadillac Championship. Let's get it. Let's go. What's cooking retail, my brother? Good to see you in the chat as always. Let's dive into the Cadillac Championship this week. If you haven't watched Fantasy Golf Degenerates, I already went over what the Blue Monster desires this week, demands, so to speak. We are looking at a 7,700-yard golf course, which is 7,760, essentially, or 70, whatever. It's a long-ass golf course. We've seen success on live with distance and just flushes. You're going to have to hit a lot of good long iron shots, along with a couple wedges and mid irons this week. We are putting on Bermuda greens. There's a lot to like, and I've got a fancy new tool that I want to share with you guys. So this is, now it's a little janky when it comes to sharing on the size of the screen. Like you can't really see a lot if I'm doing it this way, but it is a very useful tool if you go over and zoom in a little bit to find your guy. So if you're looking for like a Scotty Scheffler this week, you click his name and you can see everything about Scotty Scheffler. So we can just kind of zoom in and go through this. It's a lot easier when you got your desktop. So Scotty Scheffler's last 2 starts have been 2 second-place finishes. That's the last 2 starts he has in the last 5 weeks. We don't have any course history at this golf course, obviously. Long-term form versus recent form. You can kind of get a good picture for how a golfer's cruising a little bit along. And as you can see, in the last 12 months, Scheffler's gained 3.5 strokes. And then the last 8, 4, and 2 months, he's kind of drifted back into the 2.8 range of strokes gained, which is still very good, but basically a stroke or so less than what Scheffler typically does. But then the last month with the 2 second-place finishes, we're obviously gaining 3.9 strokes, which is more than good enough, in my opinion, to think that Scotty Scheffler's got a chance to win this tournament. We do think so too. Then you take a look at finish rates. You can see, okay, this guy's finishing inside the top 10 at an 86% clip, which is insane to think about. We've got the hard and hellish scoring conditions over here. I'll be adding birdie and bogey rates to this shortly. Then you can go to the ball striking tab over here and take a look at everything ball striking related. Strokes gained off the tee, driving distance, driving accuracy, strokes gained approach, and then strokes gained ball striking. So this is a perfect situation for you to see, okay, how does this guy look in the ball striking department? We are looking for long iron play. How does Scotty Scheffler do when it's long? He's actually been struggling on the long iron front a little while, but we have seen him now gain 2 times on approach in the last 2 weeks at the Masters and at RBC Heritage. So that's good to see. What's going on, Joanne? Good to see you. We are going to then scoot over to the right-hand side here. You can see his rankings. And in a field of 70, we've got 72 people, sorry. We've got 70 ranking for Scotty Scheffler from 200 plus from the fairway. So that's not ideal. He's actually very, very good from inside 150 out of the rough. So you can see that over there. You can see all the different rankings. It's kind of cool in this department. And we can scoot back over to this side and take a look at some short game. If you're looking for just general strokes gained around the greens, Scotty's gaining 0.8 on every single surface. If you're looking for just strokes gained around Bermuda, where you're chipping off of Bermuda rough, he gains 0.73 strokes in that department. So there's a couple, random strokes gains in here that we're not going to be getting, but it is his better surface to chip off of. And then you take a look at strokes gained putting over the last little while. Scheffler's gained a third of a stroke putting in the last 12 months or so. And then if you take a look at his strokes gained Bermuda putting, he's actually losing strokes over the last 16 months of Bermuda stats. So it's not ideal going to a Bermuda venue, but he typically puts some better on POA and a little bit better on bent, but he actually loses strokes putting on Bermuda in the last 16 months. So that's not ideal, but it is what it is. And then if you're looking for some showdown stuff, you can see, okay, Scotty Scheffler's now, new thing is a Saturday. Scotty Scheffler's gaining 3.5 strokes on Saturdays, which is insane to even think about now that we got rough starts to the tournament for him typically. this Saturday is the round that he's kind of firing on all cylinders. So we're also looking at these strokes gained for rounds 1 through 4 and seeing like 2.7, 2.3. It's not necessarily that great. If you take a look at the rankings, it's all the best in the field as well. So that's kind of what you're getting with over there. This is the new tool. It's a nice way to kind of go about researching everything about a golfer. You can, get it onto your full screen if you do have that available to you. It does look a little bigger, but it's a nice way to kind of get a good feel for what everything is happening over here. Cool. I will look at Hitsitsane and Yalamaraju shortly. Let's get to the bets, and then I will do some DFS deep dives as we rock and roll through this beautiful, beautiful Tuesday afternoon's podcast. So here's the model. Obviously, you can find everything in the Model Maniac Patreon. Use code CAD26, CAD26 for 50% off your first month. You'll get all of these tools. You get all the Discord. You get everything over there. Please go and help your boy along the way. So we're going to take a look at the model, the Maniac model tab. It's got basically the summary of everything we're looking for. We have got 6 boxes we want to be checking this week. So we're going to be looking at hellish scoring, which is over par scoring. We've seen that happen now multiple times on Live Miami. The scoring averages were over par at those 2 events in 2025 and 2026. We're looking at a micro model ranking, which is basically a course fit ranking using this specific course's unique hole variations to determine how well a golfer will succeed at a venue like this. And then we're looking for just strokes gained over the last 12, 8, 6, and 2026 strokes gained. We're looking for driving distance. We're looking for high-end finishes, which is this last 12 months finish rates. Over here, we're looking for wins, top 5s, top 10s, and top 20s. And then we can take a look at the model ranking, which is this column right over here. So let's actually just get right into it with the model rankings, and then we can figure out where we want to go from there. We've just discussed Scotty Scheffler. Everything he does well at this golf course makes a lot of sense. If you take a look at his hellish scoring conditions, he's well above everybody in this field when it comes to strokes gained in hellish conditions. Whether or not the long iron play and the Bermuda putting holds him back a little bit, I don't necessarily know. But what we do know is he's $13,600, which in my opinion is a very affordable price for a golfer who has won at Bay Hill, I think now twice. And this is a kind of a Bay Hill compy course. There's a lot of water around the venue. There's long holes out there. You're going to require a lot of long iron play. And we're putting on Bermuda greens, So we'll see what Scheffler can get up to in this department. I'm all about it this week. I love the fact that he's now had his child. And after that child was born, we finished second, losing to Matthew Fitzpatrick in a playoff at RBC Heritage. So a lot to like from Scotty Scheffler, the world number 1, finishing inside the top 10 at an 86% clip in that world. It's good to see. I should probably say that we are live. 2 seconds, friends. I'm going to make sure we get enough of you in the chat over here. And then we're getting into our first bet of the week. It's going to be Cameron Young. When it comes to Cameron Young betting, we are not actually going to be betting him outright. We're actually going to be betting Cam Young a top 10. Cam Young top 10 at plus 125. And we're going to be looking at that on DraftKings because this is where we're betting our bets. This week, they have most of the best placement odds out there as well, along with some outrights. Use code FGD when signing up for a first-time deposit bonus. We'd really appreciate you there. The show is always brought to you by DraftKings. Shout out the wonderful people at DraftKings. So Cameron Young, top 10, plus 125 at DK. If we take a look at the actual betting situation here, I do a nice little wonderful write-up for every single bet that I place. I put it in my player profiles over here. You can go and grab pretty much anybody that you're looking for that I've written about. You can go and find them over there. So Cameron Young in the mix. He enters the week with 4 top 10s in the last 5 starts. We're betting this as a top 10 bet. He finishes inside the top 10 at a 55% rate over the last 12 months. So you can see all of this stuff over here. This isn't necessarily the greatest visual, but his top 10 rate is 55% of the time. In hellish conditions, he gains 1.7 strokes. That's good to see. If you take a look at his strokes gained off the tee plus approach, he's gaining 1.7 strokes per round. So that is just an ideal situation. Do I like the fact that he's putting on Bermuda? Yes. Do I like the fact that he's chipping on Bermuda? No. But what we do like is the Bermuda putting. We can expect good things from Cameron Young coming through over here. We can move him out of the way and take a look back at the model again. So I'm all in on Cam Young. We're going to be betting 2 units to win 2.5 units on Cam Young. I'm all in on this man. He's checked all 6 of the boxes. He's fantastic when it comes to total top 5, top 10 rates. He's actually the second best top 10er in the field at a 55% clip behind Scheffler. If we take a look at his recent form, all of those finishes there for you guys. First, third, and 7th. So he's had multiple top 10s in the last little while. RBC Heritage finished 25th there. It hasn't actually played the greatest golf at RBC Harbour Town over his course of his career. The ball striking is going to be fantastic, as always, at a golf course like this. He leads the field in strokes gained off the tee at this golf course, even ahead of Scotty Scheffler, hitting his irons better than Scheffler. Again, Scheffler's now a new man after the baby. And if you take a look at his trending performances over the last little while, he's actually getting so much better. You know, you can just see his game blossoming as we go along. So good to see our man Cam Young getting in the mix. I'm really a really big believer in his performance this week. Number 2 in the model, number 2 in the micro model. So great course fit. It all just makes way too much sense. He's really starting to peak. We get plus money on a top 10, which he does more than half the time. 55% of the time he's doing that, we get plus 125. Ties paid in full. So that could even be like a top 15. Remember, there's only 70 people. A top 15 is like the top 20% of this field. So it's basically what we're kind of looking at here. 75 people would be 25%, 20% for 15 of them. So you get what I'm trying to say there with Cam Young. Love the top 10 rate. And if you're looking to bet Cam Young, bet him top 10 instead of top 20, because every time he's finishing inside the top 20, he's basically finishing 10th as well, 10th or better. 59% top 20 rate, a 55% top 10 rate. So basically simultaneous finishes inside the top 10 when he's finishing top 20. Let's get that Cam Young top 10 bet through this week for 2.5 units of profit, betting 2 units on this bet at DraftKings. So go grab that. Actually, I think this is a bet Riv. We'll see how that goes, but you know, shop around as always. There's good numbers everywhere when you do that. But if you're in the mood, go to DraftKings. They've got it for you over there. Ties paid in full. We love that there. So that is our first bet. It's going to be a Cameron Young top 10 plus 125, ties paid in full. When we are taking a look at some more bets this week, I'm going to be looking at somebody that has one of the best top 20 rates in this field, and his name is Russell Henley. So we're going to be taking a look at Russell Henley at minus 137, I believe, which is a weird number, but it's a number we're going to be betting. Henley, minus 137, top 20. We are laying a bit of juice, but it's okay. I think there's actually minus 130s out there. If you're in the mood to go and just grab a ties where you get dead heated, you could get some better numbers, but I don't think the math is making as much sense to take the risk of getting dead heated into the equation now. So Russell Henley, Sex Panther, 60% of the time is finishing inside the top 20, 100% of the time. That is now no longer the case. It's happening 74% of the time, which is insane. 3 of every 4 starts for Russell Henley are top 20s. If you take a look at his recent form, we've got a 3rd, a 13th, a 6th, and a 19th since Pebble Beach. So 4 top 20s in his last 7 starts. We've had a bit of a rough situation at Heritage and Valero, but we're going to bounce back at this golf course. We got a great model ranking of 5th for course fit this week for old Henley. He is 5th in the micro model. By the way, for those of you that don't know what the micro model is, let's go over here and find Russell Henley for us so I can show you exactly what's cooking with him. Once this loads, my computer's been a little bit of a slowpoke lately. But here's Russell Henley's profile. If we want to zoom in a smidgen, we can do that as well. Russell Henley, you know, I've got these guys hitting at 310 yards off the tee. On average, we don't have any historical data to kind of really figure out exactly what's happening at this golf course, but we're going to just kind of go with it. and see what happens over here. So let's change all of these to 60% as well, because I haven't updated that for us. If we're taking a look at what Russell Henley gets up to on this golf course, average drive at these firm fairways is going to be 305 yards or so. This is kind of what we're seeing with Russell Henley. When it comes to 305-yard drives, he's going to have himself various approach ranges into the greens, you know, so you can see that over here. This is the approach yardage, and you can get a good little summary of what we can expect from Henley approach yardage distribution. 7 shots from 200 plus, 6 shots from 150 to 200, and then 4 shots from 150 to 100 yards, and then 1 that's coming inside 100 yards. So we'll see how it goes. As you can see, he's gaining 0.3 strokes from 100 to 150 on only 4 shots, where he's gaining 0.2 from 200 plus. Not necessarily the greatest long iron player in the field, but if we want to take a quick peek at my player summary for old Russell Henley, there's an interesting little tidbit I want to share with you on him. Despite having some really bad long iron play, as you know, all of your long irons are on this side of the board over here, and then it just gets shorter and shorter for all the different things. We've got strokes gained, we've got proximity, green regulation rates, good shot percentages, and poor shot percentages. A good shot is when you gain over half a stroke on a single approach shot on the field, and a poor shot is when you lose half a stroke on approach to the field on a single shot. So Russell, not necessarily doing the greatest when it comes to good shot rates, with a 4% occurrence over there. If we do the ranking side of things here, you can see the good shot rate from 200 plus out of the fairway is 55th in the field. You know, nothing really from 200 plus is popping apart from proximity. He's inside the top 10 in proximity from 200 plus, not necessarily gaining the most strokes, but that's good to see the proximity side of things. But what really has me excited is the poor shot avoidance out of the rough, because that's when things can go really badly. And as a result, he's second in the field out of the rough when it comes to poor shot avoidance from 150 and out. So I love that about Russell Henley. He's, you know, not necessarily the greatest at avoiding poor shots inside 150. He's probably getting a little more aggressive. But from 150 and out, where there's water everywhere, crap to be digested and ingested, he avoids disaster. So if he's hitting fairways at basically what, fairways at 62% clip around here, maybe he gets into the higher 60s. The third of the time he's hitting out the rough, it's going to be from 150 and beyond, and he does a great job at avoiding disaster from that range. So I'm a fan of Russell Henley. We're going to him at a casual -130 for a top 20 ties paid. Go grab yourself some of that. It's a no-brainer bet, in my opinion, for Russell Henley. So give us some Russell Henley, baby. Let's get it going. What's up, Ego Waffles? Good to see you in the chat, my friend. I appreciate the kind words. Any support for Alex Fit and him a top 20 bet? I'm going to wait. I'm not going to be betting anything on Fitzy, Alex-wise. I'm going to see what happens. Often we see these Euros come through and all of a sudden they kind of shit the bed. Shout out Rasmus Niergaard Peterson, who I've lost 5 units on this week or this year, kind of thinking he would translate the great form that he had on the DP World Tour to the PGA. Not happened. So, you know, kind of just wait and see situation. By the way, Russell Henley strokes gained putting on Bermuda is his jam. Gains almost a stroke per round putting on Bermuda greens, does Russell Henley. So a lot to like about old Russ, the bus. Let's get him into the betting cards. It's a little short, you know, you're going to be paying negative odds, but I don't want people to freak out about negative odds when it comes to golf betting. When it comes to golf betting, think of it as a probability. What is -130? -200 is 66%, right? So somewhere but -110 is 52-ish. So I should be able to do the math in my head. -130, what's that? Like 60% of the time, but he's doing it more than that. So love to see what's going on with old Russ in this department. That's going to be our second placement of the day. And we're kind of firing off placements as we're rocking and rolling, but I think we are now all on top 5s and outrights for the rest of the betting card. So we're going to filter again once more time by the model ranking and take a look at some names. So we've bet Cameron Young and Russell Henley at the top of the board. I also want to shout out my boy Ian at Flag Hunting, because he had an interesting little situation over, well, that's not what we're looking for. I just commented on his stuff because he had a interesting observation about Jake Knapp when it comes to this stuff over here. Something to monitor. Ian is on the grounds at whatchamacallit, at Doral. We placed this Jake Knapp bet for a top 10, but I've cashed this bad boy out, didn't drop it in the Discord, because Ian mentions that Knapp's playing this practice round today and holding his wrists. He's not teeing off with the long shots. Things like that can be a concern. When it comes to betting, we are passive aggressive. You want to take your chances when things make sense. We don't want to be taking on risk injury-wise. We're looking for a healthy golfer to bet on. You know, we don't want to take on risk in any department. We're not necessarily getting the love you want on the odd side of things, because I don't think DraftKings even knows that this dude's hurt. So we're going to leave him alone. He's also going to be a very popular play at $9,500. Fifth in the model. This man is just rattling off top 10s like it's his job. So be aware of the Jake Knapp situation. There could be a hidden injury that we have to deal with this week that has not been disclosed yet. So shout out Ian. Go give him a follow at Flag Hunting. They do both golf and NASCAR. Fantastic account to go and follow there. Back to your regular paid programming. We're going to be leaving Jake Knapp alone. Let's make him red just because there's a good chance there's some sort of an injury situation there. We are moving along, and we don't have any bets in the next little section over here. We're going to keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. I don't even know where the hell our guys are. Here's Minwoo Lee. He's our next bet. Minwoo Lee to win this tournament at 33-1 without Scotty is our next bet. Showing. There we go. Without Scotty Scheffler, Minwoo Lee 33-1 at DraftKings. If we take a look at what Minwoo Lee has done the last little while, let's go to his player page over here. Take a quick peek. Minwoo over here. I believe if you just go out of the square and you just start typing stuff in, it'll pop up for us anyway. So go check it out. DraftKings price of $8,600. We don't have a model rank for Minwoo Lee, which is very interesting. Maybe we need to actually click Minwoo Lee's name. Ooh. I just built this today, so that'll be interesting to see. Where's this coming from? Minwoo Lee, Maniac model. Interesting stuff. So we'll figure that out as we go along, but we can go take a look at it over here anyway. It should be pulling in this number over here, which is really interesting to me why it's not. But we got a power ranking of 25th for Minwoo. He's actually 15th in the DK pricing world, so we don't really have value in the model. But what we do know is Minwoo Lee is a different golfer now. If we take a look at his player page, look at these last couple months. It's been really impressive in the last 8 months. And if you take a look at the last 8 months, they could be very similar to the last 4 months because they take their fall swing off. When guys are 8 months gets us back to what? September? You know, they're not golfing in September. So it's a weird situation, but the last 4 months, which is 2026, he's gaining 1.7 strokes on the field. Very impressive stuff over there. He's gaining on approach, which is good to see. The ball striking numbers are going to be great in this field. He is going to grade out as the 23rd best ball striker. And that's not necessarily even really including the great iron play that we've seen from Minwoo Lee this year. And when it comes to Minwoo Lee's situation, he is gaining a fraction, 1/10 of a stroke on approach from the fairway outside 200 yards. When you're taking a look at his ball striking here, from the fairway 200 plus, it's easily his best area. Kind of the closer we get to the hole, the worse Minwoo Lee does. He's got so much power, difficult to control spin, difficult to kind of utilize his skill set in a great way. With people with power, the reason you see guys with good distance at the top of this leaderboard at Doral, when you have good distance, doesn't necessarily mean it's all driver. If you have lots of distance off the tee, it means you can hit it far, which means you can hit it high when you're using a specific golf club. and it means that you can use less club, which means you can even hit it even higher when you're coming in. These greens are firm. We've seen Durrell play firm. We've seen Florida courses play firm this year so far as well. So hitting it high in the air, landing it softly is imperative. Min-Woo Lee does just that, gaining tons of strokes on the field. His strokes gained approach from 200 plus in the fairway is the 10th best in the field. So that's good to see there. Poor shot avoidance, very impressive at 96%. Is actually not the greatest. It's 55th ranking. So it's nice to have the ranking alongside over here so you can really see, okay, what is going on when it comes to the specific golfer's profile, because a number it needs context. 96% seems good. It's the 55th best in the field of 70, so not necessarily the greatest. Taking a look at Min-Woo Lee's putting on Bermuda, he gains a fraction of a stroke. Typically, you want to get Min-Woo Lee on Poa. That's where he does his best work. He's actually been really bad on bent grass when it comes to putting. But what I do like to see is he's gaining around the greens, half a stroke around the greens on Bermuda grass, which is above his baseline of a third of a stroke. So that's good to see too. If you're looking to get involved with Min-Woo Lee, he's round one stuff. He's typically losing strokes in round one, but he bounces back hardcore in round two. So he's probably going to be a round two showdown potential ad. Round two strokes gain of 26th in this field. We are looking at a guy that over the last 12 months has improved significantly. So that strokes gain numbers, it's the last 12 months, which is only gaining 0.9. Over the last 4 months, he's gaining 1.7. So you can kind of extrapolate these numbers a little bit better to include more of his recent form to kind of get to where we want to go. It's a fun situation there. So Min-Woo Lee to win this tournament. If we take a look at what he's got up to, third at the Houston Open. I kind of like that as a comp course. Lots of distance off the tee. I think I like Min-Woo Lee at venues that are in Florida because he typically finds himself playing good golf there. He did not play at the Cognizant Classic, but he's almost won that in the past. We've also seen Min-Woo Lee play nicely at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Very similar kind of a golf course. He had a 6th place finish over there and then a 3rd at the Houston. So his last 2 starts have been a little rough, but we do believe in a great season so far. I'm not going to get too freaked out by 2 starts at the Masters and the RBC Heritage. Let's take a look at what he gets up to at the Houston and the Arnold Palmer instead to go there. So Min-Woo Lee doing some good work on the ball striking front and has found some good form this year. 33-1 without Scotty Scheffler. I think there's plus 750s. I dropped that in the Discord for a top 5 as well. We want to make sure we are grabbing those top 5s to make sure that when guys are in the mix, we are still getting our payment back there because we want to cash some bets even though we just kind of finished short. So we'll see what happens with Min-Woo Lee. Next up for us is going to be Kurt Kitayama. I think he is, what the heck did I bet him at? I should not have been typing these in as we're going. Maniac bets for Kurt Kitayama is 41-1. Let me pop that in over there. 41-1 without Scotty. And Kurt Kitayama does a very similar thing that Min-Woo does. Hits it a million miles, hits the long irons well. We'll take a look at Kurt Kitayama's profile. We can take a look here, Kurt Kita, and see what happens over here. All right, so interesting to see this thing not model ranking. I'm actually just going to fix it right now. Go Kurt Kitayama, click it over here. Then you go Maniac model. This dude over here. And scoot all the way down. DraftKings pricing all the way down to BJ. This is not going to work, actually, because 56. All right, whatever. Not going to fix it now because I have to figure out how many columns to add. Back to Kurt Kitayama. Stay on track, Byron. Best finish in the last 5 starts on the PGA Tour's calendar is an 8th place at the RBC Heritage. It's not a golf course that you'd expect Kurt Kitayama to play well at. He finished 8th. Do we have other finishes that kind of make sense better for us over here? Let's take a quick peek at Kurt Kitayama and see if he's got a couple better finishes prior to the last 5. And take a peek. See, Genesis Invitational, Arnold Palmer Invitational, 2 longer golf courses, driver-heavy venues, long iron predominance, courses that we could kind of expect Durrell to play similar to. He's got an 8th at Arnold Palmer Invitational where he's won before, and then he's got a 2nd place finish as a Genesis Invitational. which is at Riviera Country Club, another longer golf course that we can kind of see him play well at. So $7,900 Kurt Kitayama, 38th in the mile. Not too worried about that. It's a very unique bet over here with Kurt at 41-1. If we're taking a look at what he gets up to on these various surfaces, he's typically the best putting on bent grass, but again, he's pretty neutral when it comes to Bermuda in that department. Finds his best golf in rounds 1 and round 4. We see all of that coming from us there. And then when it comes to strokes gained from 200 plus, he's actually losing a fraction every single time he plays, but he's actually gaining 0.112 strokes, which is the 4th best strokes gained out the rough from 150 and out. So with someone with lots of distance, they're going to be finding themselves in the rough a little bit more than average, 50% of the time, because he's hitting at 1 million miles. Kurt Kitayama is the 11th best iron player in the field. I truly hope I did have that on my microphone. It was a good mute there. 11th in driving distance, but only 49th in driving accuracy. You hardly ever see anyone with very good driving distance and very good driving accuracy. That's what Scotty Scheffler kind of does, but it's not easy to find. You know, this is the hard part about hitting it far. It goes skew. So making sure you stay in the fairway is a big deal. But if you don't hit it in the fairway a lot, hitting it well out the rough from 150 and beyond is exactly what you're looking for from Kurt Kitayama. Proximities kind of suck, but he's a very aggressive player. Hits a lot of green regulations and hits a lot of good shots as well. So good to see everything out the rough kind of making up for some really poor performances out of the fairway from far. You know, even from 150 to 200, he's 6th in the field. So finding him in that range is going to be very important, and hopefully he can take advantage of that proximity bucket. He will still find himself hitting a lot of long irons from 200 plus. But again, out the rough, good to see. Kurt Kitayama, 41-1 to win this tournament without Scotty Scheffler. We've also bet him top 5 at plus 750 as well to get Kurt Kitayama home for us in a big way. I'm a big believer in Kurt Kitayama this week. Love the course fit, love the price. Without Scotty Scheffler, you can finish second to him as long as he's not tied to anybody else. We get all of our funding back and the payout of 41-1. Let's go get it, baby. Moving along. Next bet, we have ourselves somebody by the name of, let's add his banner over here to the mix. Without Scotty Scheffler, it's going to be Gary Woodland at 65-1. You can find fantastic numbers out there on Gary Woodland without Scotty Scheffler. If you take a look at what Gary's been up to this little while, it's been really impressive. Let's get Gary Woodland in here, popping his name into the mix. He just won at the Houston Open, which is another great comp course like we've spoken about, and he's actually been in some really good form. You know, 14th at the Valspar and 8th at the Heritage. Good to see. The week, the start after winning at the Houston, he finished 33rd at the Masters. Still made the cut, still played okay. I'm not too worried about that. I love the fact that he's a long iron beast. You know, he's gaining solid amounts of strokes on approach. 36th in the field from 200 plus. It is what it is. But again, this is all for this year. Gary Woodland's kind of profile only starts after the Players, where he's just found a totally different gear after announcing his PTSD. You know, it's changed his entire golf game. And that's a contextual hinge point in his statistical profile is when he announced this stuff. So using data to kind of figure it out, you can almost see a round by round stuff if you go to Gary Woodland over here. Anyone interested in telling me when he made an announcement about his mental health in this situation over here? It's kind of hilarious that you can see it. It happened at the Players. Obviously, he missed the cut there this week, but after that, he just has been playing fantastic golf. So hitting it 1 million miles off the tee, gaining a lot on approach, putting very nicely. And if you notice, he's really bad around the greens. I'm actually going to pull up some stuff that we had in the Discord where I posted some interesting nuggets on what we could see at this venue. And in 2025, this is the LIV leaderboard. And I want you to take a look at the strokes gained around the green numbers for everyone inside the top 10. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 guys of the 11 inside the top 10 basically lost strokes or gained neutral. No one was gaining more than a stroke per round around the greens. Of those 8, there were 3, Cam Smith, Charl Schwartzel, and Mark Leishman, gaining more than a stroke per round around the greens. Those are the only 3 names inside the top 10 to gain significantly around the greens. If we take a look, you can go to the correlations over here. Around the green play is quite poor. It's barely any correlation to success. Ball striking, approach play, good putters, obviously, and some off the tee stuff, making a lot of difference. If you take a look there, that's good to see. So if we're taking a look at 2024 as well, we're starting to see a little bit more gaining around the greens, but again, not doing a lot of heavy lifting. Nobody inside the top 10, apart from Waco Neiman and Tyrrell Hatton, gained more than a stroke per round on the field. So you can get yourself inside the top 10. You can get yourself to winning a golf tournament like this without necessarily having the best around the green play. Gary Woodland's a fantastic putter, a fantastic ball striker, got lots of distance off the tee. If we're taking a look at 2024, which has better weather projections, the conditions in 2024 were what we can expect this week, a little calmer, nothing too crazy. I filtered by driving distance for Liv, and if you filter by that, you're getting Matthew Wolff led the field in driving distance, finished 3rd. Dean Burmester won the tournament. John Rahm finished 4th. So the first 3 in driving distance finished top 5. Bryson DeChambeau finished 7th, and Waco Neiman finished 9th. DeChambeau did that losing strokes on approach somehow, hilariously. So we'll see how it all works out for these guys. As you can see, a couple of these dudes off the tee gaining significant amounts. I mean, Matthew Wolff gained 2.8 strokes off the tee. If he could just make a couple more putts, he was going to be Gucci Mama, but so to be the case. If we take a look at the weather, I pulled this up for us as well. Thursday's looking pretty chilled. Friday's looking pretty chilled for the most part until like 5 p.m. Saturday's looking pretty relaxed. And then Sunday, we can expect some wind in the afternoon, it looks like. So I haven't taken a look at the weather for a while. We'll see what happens when we go back and take a look there later this afternoon. But here's Gary Woodland for you. Finds himself gaining fractionally on Bermuda, not necessarily his best surface. Again, we'll see what happens with Gary Woodland now that we've got a totally different situation going on with him, given the fact that he has mentioned the PTSD stuff. So strokes gained around the greens on Bermuda. It's the grainy Bermuda greens. Grainy Bermuda rough can really get you, especially if you're chipping off of like the short stuff where the grain is growing into the club face. He loses a lot around the greens. Hopefully at a course like this, that can be nullified a little bit. So we'll see what Gary Woodland gets up to. Anything he does in particular very well, putts well on Poa, that doesn't matter here this week. His proximity from 150 and out of the rough is 12th in the field. He gains the 3rd most strokes off the tee, ball striking, and this has been the case for the last 12 months, is this ball striking numbers off the tee. 3rd in the field in driving distance. Good to see that for GW. In the last month, he's gaining the 4th most strokes in the field as well, which includes that 33rd at the Masters. So obviously has that win as well. Gary Woodland, 65-1 without Scotty Scheffler is going to be our play. And then we've got 175-1 on Aldrich Potgieter to win this thing without Scotty Scheffler. By the way, we've also got the Gary Woodland top 5. Whatever you can get the best top 5 number on for Gary Woodland, go ahead and do that. I dropped that in the Model Maniac Patreon, and we've got a Gary Woodland top 5 at 11-1. Betting 0.2 units on that to win 2.2. So that's what we're doing with Gary Woodland as well, getting those top 5s in there. Aldrich Potgieter. If we find his name in this list, we should have a delightful looking profile when it comes to strokes gained from 200 plus. He is the 3rd best iron player in the field from that distance. So that's good to see. Let's move over to this side of the rankings and find Aldrich gaining the 3rd most strokes from 200 plus out the fairway. He also does really good work gaining strokes out the rough from 150 and out. That's good to see there. He is disastrously bad when it comes to strokes gained from, inside 100 yards. Not necessarily his strong point. He is a lot better from 150 and out. As you can see, it literally gets better every single bucket. He gets further away from the hole. Leads the field in driving distance. He gains the 4th most total strokes off the tee numbers, and he's 27th when it comes to adding his approach play and his off the tee numbers together to get us ball striking in this field. That's good to see over there. So I like that a lot from old Aldrich. He typically finds his groove in round 3 and, starts off a little bit slow. But what I want to make you guys aware of is contextually, I'm using the word contextual a lot when it comes to explaining golf right now, but the funny thing about this round 3 scoring is if he makes it to round 3 in last place in a no-cut event, I don't know if we can expect his round 3 scoring to be as good as the 0.7 strokes that he's gaining, because there's a cut. So you make the weekend by making the cut. You get to play your round 3 if you've made the cut. If you make the cut, you're playing well. So you're obviously playing well when you make the weekend, and as a result, you can see his round 3 numbers are exceptional. So he's made the cut. He finds his groove. Off we go. He's not making the cut having played badly. So be aware of that. If he's playing poorly and you're looking at these round 3 strokes gain numbers for showdown, they may not relate, but I do like this course fit. He really struggles putting on bent or Bermuda. It is what it is. He typically chips his best of the 3 main bent grass, Poa, Bermuda. He's chipping quite nicely out of the Bermuda rough or on Bermuda surfaces. So that's good to see. We've already spoken about everything he's got up to the last little while. If you're looking at an Aldrich Potgieter top 5, you can get that at 26-1 that we dropped in the Discord. And then you can also get the top 10 at plus 1050, which is 10-1. If you want to be betting that, I love that for him. He finishes inside the top 10 17% of the time, which is 37th in this field, which is middle of the pack at a top 10 rate. But top 20 rate is exactly the same as his top 10 rate. So when he's finishing top 20, he's also finishing top 10. So I would not even bet the top 20 number. He's either playing very well on courses that suit him, or he's struggling. He doesn't really find himself in the mix, in the midst of the teens there. He's always going to be inside the top 10 when he's top 20. So we've bet him top 10 at 11-1, bet him top 20 at 26-1. Sorry, top 5 at 26-1, and then to win the tournament without Scotty Scheffler at 175-1. So he can easily get it up and down. I started that sentence and started going, I said the word up and I had no idea where I was going with it. So Aldrich can easily dominate a golf course like this with the long irons and with the driving distance. He's a very good driver of the golf ball. So we'll see what he gets up to. Not, 62nd in the field in accuracy. It is what it is. 47% of the time, he'll be in the fairway. Dominate the long irons. I love him at these kind of golf courses where the long irons are in his hand. He can dominate with the driver. Whatever happens with the short game happens. If he gets a bit of confidence with the long irons early, that can flow into the putting. So we'll see what happens with Aldrich. Played quite nicely at the Heritage. This 25th place finish doesn't do him justice. He was well within striking range on Sunday and had a bit of a weird Sunday. So not ideal, but again, 21st at Houston, another compy kind of a golf course, right? Heavy drivers, a lot of long irons type things. I don't even know if it's long iron heavy at Houston. It's just driver heavy. So we'll see what happens there. Struggled at Bay Hill, but had a 5th place finish at the Genesis Invitational. Solo 5th. We cashed that at 55-1. It's now 26-1, significantly less there. So let's see what old Aldrich can do. I'm a big believer in his situation. Let's get to some bets, some DFS deep dives. And we'll start off with Retail Ripper's question about Hatsatsune and Yalamiraju. So feel free to fire through a couple deep dives that we can get into that you're in the mood for using the model over here at the Model Maniac Patreon. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick second to hear from our partners at DraftKings. The battle for the jacket is heating up in Augusta, and there's no better place to sweat the action than DraftKings Daily Fantasy, the ultimate destination for fantasy golf fans. And for the year's first major, our partners at DraftKings are giving all customers a shot to play free for a $1 million top prize with your next deposit of $10 or more. That's 100,000 times your deposit if you win, only on DraftKings Daily Fantasy app. It's simple to play. Build your dream lineup while staying under the salary cap, then sit back and watch as your players rack up points. Every birdie, every bogey, every clutch putt, feel the intensity of every shot. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app to play free for a shot at the $1 million top prize with just a $10 deposit. That's for all DraftKings customers. Just download the Daily Fantasy app for your free shot today. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. One per customer. Minimum $10 single deposit. Reward issued as one $10 ticket for the DraftKings Day Fantasy Golf Millionaire Contest. Ticket is single use and expires at contest lock on 4/9/26. See terms at DraftKings.com/promos. Sponsored by DraftKings. We hit the wrong ad again there. But shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring the show. The Masters was a couple weeks ago. My bad on that one. It is what it is. Still kind of getting the grips here. We got a new ad read coming for you guys soon for May. Going to be lots of fun. Pulling up Ryo Hatsatsune for us, courtesy of Real Tail Ripper's request. Ryo Hatsatsune, 23rd in the model, which is a monster ranking differential compared to DraftKings, I would imagine. 16 spots. DK's got him priced 39th. We've got him priced 23rd in our model. 8th for a micro model ranking. We really like what Ryo Hatsatsune gets up to on the micro model. So I'm in the mood for Ryo Hatsatsune. We're going to take a look here for his profile. So we've got an 8th place finish at the Valero, where he's played well in the past. That's good to see. And we've also got a significant improvement in his current form. Over the last 2 years, barely gaining any strokes. The last 4 months, gaining 1.5 strokes. Played very good golf to start the year. Over the last month, gaining 1.2 strokes. You know, that Valero 8th place finish going to help him there. 30th at the Valspar, and then finished 60th at the Heritage. So he's got some stuff going on. The 8th at the Valero is very nice. When we take a look at strokes gained off the tee, he's gaining over half a stroke in the field, which is the 17th best in this field. He's also gaining just shy of 1/10 of a stroke on approach from 200 plus out of the fairway, which is also 17th in this field. If we scoot over to the right-hand side here, let's actually take a look at what he really gets going. You know, like take a look at the rankings that really stick out to us. He hits the second most good shots from 200 plus out the fairway. Gains over half a stroke on approach in one single shot, the second most out of anyone in this field, you know, so that's good to see for him. He avoids a lot of poor shots from 150 to 200 out of the fairway. That's good to see. He's also pretty sharp when it just comes to the overall ball striking. Strokes gained off the tee plus strokes gained approach. He's got it down. Overall ranking of 10th for all the various approach proximities that we'll see in their various prorated amounts. You know, we're going to see a lot of long irons, various amounts of short irons, and mid irons. If we go over to the micro model and find Ryo Hatsatsune, we can see exactly how his profile will break down for us. You can see his proximity distribution. He's going to hit 7 shots from 200 plus projected, 5 from 150 to 200, and then 5 from 100 to 150. So he does most of his heavy lifting on the stroke gain numbers from 200 plus. That's good to see. And he's going to be dominating par 4s in a big way this week. So I like a lot of Ryo Hatsatsune, my bud. I think he makes a lot of sense for us. This is the comment I wanted to have up here. So I like Ryo at 77,000 flat. I like it a lot. He's going to be doing good work for us this week. I'm a fan. I am a fan. Back to the Maniac model. Let's dive into your guy, Yalamaraju, who I'm also a fan of. I think it makes a lot of sense for him to play good golf at this golf course. He's 35th in the model. What does DraftKings have him priced as? 39th. So slight value in that department. He's also found significant form over the last little while. Last year's worth of golf, he's been losing half a stroke. In the last 2 months, he's gaining a stroke. So a 1.5 stroke swing in his recent form versus this situation. Cantley WD. Ew. It actually just reminds me, I actually bet Patrick Cantley top 20, which I would have totally forgot to mention. Shout out Michael Thorbjornsson, who finally made it back in again after the getting punted by Alex Fitzpatrick's entry into the tournament. So that's good to see him back in there. I'm glad I deleted him out of my system. Should have just kept his ass in there. But it is what it is. We'll put him back in and get Cantley out of there. So good to see that. But back to Yelamaraju, 12th in the micro model ranking because of what? Driving distance. He's pretty solid in that department. He gains a ton of strokes off the tee. He's going to be a great ball striker, doing a lot of strokes gained putting, and he actually struggles around the green. I love the fact that we got guys who have significant gains, putting, approach, and off the tee. I think we can kind of get away with some bad around the green play and still have good results this week. So Yelamaraju makes a ton of sense if you're looking at his overall course fit here. 12th in the micro model, playing some good golf relative to his historical baseline over the last 12 months. We've got a 17th at the Cargo, 5th at the Players, a 6th at the Houston, a 14th at the Valero, and then finished 52nd in his first signature event of the season, if you're excluding the Players, which is a full field event. So, one of his first truly poor round performances, and we had quite a decent amount of him at the Heritage. $7,000 flat as well makes a ton of sense if you're looking for him to add to your Scotty Scheffler lineups. You're going to need 7K guys to get Scotty Scheffler into your player pool. Yelamaraju is one of those guys. Anything other stuff interesting about his game? Not necessarily. He's a weekend warrior. He gains 1.25 strokes over the weekend, whereas he only gains like 1.3 Thursday and Friday. You feel me? So that's good to see there. I don't mind Austin Smotherman at $6,300. There's a 22-point ranking differentiation between DraftKings and our power rankings. We've got him 36th. DK's got him 58th. He is a ball striker, friends. If we go over to the micro model ratings, you can just there's a lot going on in this sheet, but there's a lot of information here. If you want to just take a look and see who's got the best balls, strokes gained balls, strokes gained approach plus strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained ball striking. Chill out, people. Siwoo Kim leads the field. He's fantastic with the long irons. We know that. And his drivers in the fairway all the time. Next up is Austin Smotherman, gaining the second most strokes ball striking in this field. I understand there's slightly smaller sample sizes associated with Austin Smotherman's data, but he's still playing very, very good golf. He loses strokes around the green and on the greens. That is what it is. But the ball striking numbers are fantastic. He's gaining 1.9 strokes ball striking around this kind of a golf course. So if we want to actually take a look at Smotherman's situation, I'm in the mood. How does he do on Bermuda putting? He's actually a better Bermuda putter than he is on POA. So that's good to see by half a stroke. That's very, very nice. He hasn't had any strokes gained on bent grass putting in the last 16 months or so that we can get into the system. So no bent grass there, but the Bermuda putting is good to see it not being is neutral. Being neutral on Bermuda putting surfaces is good. It's better than losing 2 strokes over the week on POA like he typically does. So we'll see what he does there. Round 1, beast. He bookends his tournaments. If you're taking a look at what he gets up to in the middle on rounds 2 and round 3, he's pretty mediocre. But round 4 and round 1, he's gaining 1.5 strokes to the field, which is top 10 in this field. 7th and 6th in total strokes gained in rounds 1 and 4. So bear that in mind when playing Austin Smotherman in Showdown. Round 1 for sure. Do we have tee times yet for our guys? Yes. I might change the show to 2:30 Central Time because These freaking tee times and ownership numbers come out well, just like right after we go live. So, you know, we've got some Smotherman tee times. Let's see, where does he go off in the morning? Because I think he's got a 12 o'clock tee time. I don't know if I like that in Florida. Florida can get a little intense. Let's take a look at some weather. Getting completely sidetracked here, but it's all relative. Trump National Doral. If we're taking a look at what's happening here, still looks like it's pretty chilled when it comes to Thursday's weather. Nothing approaching more than 6 miles per hour, 90 degrees. You know, that's going to be hot. Going to bake this course out a little bit. So I'm all about kind of getting guys going off early. If we take a look at some names that do have early tee times, Patrick Rogers, Matt Wallace, Jonathan Vegas is going to be a smash first-round leader play, isn't he? Sahith Thagala goes off early. He's not typically a round guy, a round one guy. Rio goes off nice and early in the morning. Putnam, McNeely, Sanjay, Ben Griffin, and then we start getting towards like midday. Yeah. So I think a Jonathan Vegas first-round leader makes a lot of sense if you do ask me. Looking at DraftKings betting for old Vegas's first round and a round one leader, we're going to have to scroll all the way to the bottom of this board, I would imagine, to find Jonathan Vegas. Yeah, he's 105 to 1. So I will be placing this bet. I will be putting a 10th of a unit on Jonathan Vegas to win 10. So let's go. I'm a fan. If we go find Vegas, complete tangent over here. No longer yellow miraging. We are Vegasing. And he's, you know, if you take a look at his strokes gained through rounds 2, 3, and 4, he's losing basically half a stroke per round. In round 1, Vegas is neutral, gaining nothing, losing basically nothing. So it is what it is. If we're looking at strokes gained putting for Jonathan Vegas, he's also only played on POA and Bermuda for us over the last little while. So we're going to take a look at Vegas's putting on Bermuda it's better than it is on POA. He's gaining strokes putting on Bermuda surfaces. So that's good to see from Johnny Vegas. If we want to take a look at some rankings for his stuff to see what kicks out pretty hard for us, the Bermuda putting is middle of the pack. That's good to see. If we're taking a look at proximity numbers, he's very good at hitting close from 100 to 150, which is weird to think about. He's a very good, you know, he hits at 1,000,000 miles, 22nd in the field in driving distance, which is good. But outside of that, you know, nothing too crazy to write home about. His proximity numbers are actually really good from far away. But it actually gets worse the further you get, to be honest with you. But it doesn't matter. I think 105 to 1 for him to get it done here is the way to go. Hard and hellish conditions, he plays a lot better in those situations than he does medium and easy. So the more difficult the conditions are, the more you want to play Jonathan Vegas. And he's actually played a little bit better than he has in the last 2 months than he did over the last 8. So those are the positives for Jonathan Vegas, first round leader, 105 to 1. If you want to shop around, I don't know if there are better numbers out there for the first round leader. Go ahead and check it out. We'll be looking at Johnny Vegas for first round laurels. All righty. Moving along, friends. Kind of coasting through this episode. I'm in a new studio. For those of you that are unaware, look here. We're sitting in the Africa bedroom, you know, of the house. We're in the middle of trying to sell this house, and the studio is now becoming a living room downstairs. So now we're in the bedroom. This is where we're going to be for the next couple weeks. Maybe we'll have a newer studio in a new place soon. We shall see. But I'm going to scoot down the model rankings over here and kind of discuss some guys. Tommy Fleetwood finds himself in 6th spot in the model. If you take a look at what Tommy's been up to this year, it's like kind of middling. 52nd at Heritage, 33rd at the Masters, 10th at Valero, 8th at the Players. You know, like these are solid performances. The 4th place finish at Pebble was his only top 5 of the year. And when you consider the fact that Tommy Fleetwood finishes inside the top 5 40% of the time, the fact that he's only got one top 5 this year just kind of tells you that we're looking at a bit of a slow start for Tommy Ladd. So Tommy Fleetwood is why does his model ranking show up, but not Jonathan Vegas's? What the heck is going on here? Anyway, so Tommy Fleetwood stuff makes a lot of sense. We got him priced exactly how DraftKings has him priced. There's no real discrepancy there. His more recent form is like kind of disturbing, actually. Not good in that department. His last 2 years worth of golf, he's gaining 1.8 strokes. His last 12 months of golf, he's gaining 2 strokes. And then in the last 2 months, he's only gaining 1.2 strokes. So he's like a full 0.8 strokes worse more recently than he is with his baseline. And the last 12 months include these 2 months. So bear that in mind. You know, he's regressing a little bit in the new year, which is, it's tough to see, you know, but insane top 5 rates, you know, like it's almost the same as his top 10 rate. So when he plays well, he plays very, very well. I just don't see it on this golf course. Let's go over to the ranking side of things here, see if we can find any top 10 ranking things that help us. Obviously, all of the top 10 rankings over here are going to be for the last 12 months, you know, with his finishing rates and the hellish scoring conditions. He does very well in hellish scoring conditions. Maybe that gives him a chance to find his groove this week. 7th in the field in strokes gained off the tee, 9th in driving accuracy, 13th in ball striking. Nothing really popping much for us on this side of his ball striking chart, which is where we want to see the long iron play. You know, he hits a lot of good shots from 200 plus, but he's only gaining the 21st most strokes on approach from 200 plus out of the fairway. And he's actually ass cheeks 62nd in this field out the rough. You know, he is more accurate than the majority of the field, so he should be hitting a bit more fairways, like a 60% clip. But 40% of the time, he's going to be cheeks out of the rough from 150 and out. Now, I don't know if that's got to do with the fact that if he's very accurate, when he's hitting a missed fairway, it's a very bad shot, so his approach numbers sacrifice a little bit. But you know, if you take a look at his strokes gained out the rough inside 150, it's a bit better. So I don't know. It's a bit of a concern, in my opinion, looking at Tommy Fleetwood's situation. He also struggles drastically on Bermuda greens. 65th in strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces, while he's 8th on bent grass surfaces. So that's where you want to be looking at. Tommy Fleetwood loses a stroke putting on Bermuda. Very interesting stuff. So we'll take a skip on Tommy Fleetwood this week. All righty. Moving along down, Hideki Matsuyama, very safe option. You know, like you can see a massive discrepancy here in T40 rate versus top 5 rate. So these are the safest options you can find in the model versus upside, because we're using top 40 rate versus top 5 rate. We're subtracting the top 5 from top 40. A big number means you have very little top 5s and a lot of top 40s. A small number means, you know, you're more of a spike guy. Less top 40s, your top 5 percentage is much closer to your top 40 rate. Hideki Matsuyama leads the field alongside Jordan Spieth with 80% difference between their top 40 rate and their top 5 rate. Both basically top 40ing 85% of the time, but both only finishing inside the top 5% of the time. So you're lacking significant upside from Jordan and Hideki, if you ask me, along with Adam Scott. You know, like Adam's going to be very popular this week, and rightfully so. But at $8,400, you're getting Adam Scott with only a 9% top 5 and a 14% top 10 rate. And this year, Adam Scott, you know, the Genesis Invitational, we've used that as a comp. He gained 1 million strokes putting that week, but that's what got him inside the top 10. He just doesn't finish inside the top 10 much. You know, 11th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, and Houston had 21st, Masters 24th. I just can't bet him top 20 even. You know, it's a tough situation for Adam Scott. But we're getting back to Hideki Matsuyama, who's checked 3 boxes. What are the boxes going to be that he checked? Is it going to be anything that is finding himself over here? No. So it's not the total top finish rates over the last 12 months. Is it going to be a micro model ranking? Most likely. Obviously, the model ranking is one of them. He's 7th in the model. That's top 10. If we take a look at his player summary, we can just do Hideki Matsuyama. And then we can see where he does finish top 10 in the models. We go over here to this side, And he only checks one of these boxes, which is kind of interesting. And it's the strokes gained over the last 4 months. So anything else that we're looking for, key proximities, key scoring conditions, key putting surfaces, key driving distances, he doesn't check any of those boxes. Not top 10 in any of those. He is top 10 in strokes gained this year in the last 4 months. So that's good to see. He's typically a pretty consistent guy. You know, doesn't have any strokes gained numbers at any time in the last 2 years that are better than 5th, but also nothing worse than the last 2 months where he's finished 16th in strokes gained. So interesting to see there from Hideki. I'm not necessarily that enthused about his profile, especially when he does a lot of his heavy lifting around the greens. He's not necessarily going to have that many opportunities to really dominate around the greens this week if we kind of look at past live data. So that's my Hideki Matsuyama take. Colin Morikawa at $9,800 makes a ton of sense if he's healthy. That's obviously the situation we have to deal with. Is Colin Morikawa going to be a healthy addition to our player pool this week? He has not finished outside the top 7 in his last 5 starts. 1 at Pebble Beach, 7th at the Genesis Invitational, 5th at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, 7th at the Masters, 4th at the RBC Heritage. So, I mean, a Colin Morikawa top 10 bet seems like an absolute no-brainer. At DraftKings, you can get a Colin Morikawa top 10 bet for, we're not looking for round leaders, we're looking for outrights for Colin Morikawa, which will show up here. Top 10 at plus 156. It's a very fair number, in my opinion. You know, if we take a look at Colin's top 10 rate, it's only 29%. That was a bad year last year. Not good. I'd imagine the majority of his top 10s have come in 2026. So that makes a lot of sense to me. He grades out quite nicely in the model for the course fit. He's 6th in that department. I'm bullish on Colin Morikawa in a big way. You know, his worst finish in the last 10 weeks on the PGA Tour is better than Hideki Matsuyama's best finish. So interesting to note that, but the model does have Hideki slightly ahead of Colin Morikawa. If we take a look at the Hideki Matsuyama player summary, we're going to be seeing, you know, strokes gained from 200 plus. He's 5th in the field from the fairway. He's just so good when the long irons come into town. From 150 to 200, he's 13th. So a lot to like about Hideki's long iron play. He struggles to putt well on Bermuda surfaces, though. That's his problem, despite putting well right now. That's mainly got to do with POA and bent greens. There are POA Triv overseeded greens as well, which I'll be adding here once I get that finalized in the database. Colin Morikawa, let's go. This is a funny thing, DFS Chef 6108. If you rewind once this video is done, go back, and I was literally speaking about Adam Scott's upside for top 20s. I've got a lot to say about Adam Scott like 10 minutes ago. You'll see when I'm speaking about him. He'll be at the top of the screen over here. So I'm not going to mention him much more than I already have, but it's not going to be good when you listen to it. So I will say that. He just doesn't give you enough upside. Sam Burns is intriguing to me. He gains 4 boxes worth of check marks, 4 of the 6 boxes that we're looking for, 9th in the model. He also will be finding himself inside the top 10 of the total upside. Yes, barely. So he's last 12 months finish rates, the model rankings, the hellish scoring conditions, very much so going to be in the mix there. 3rd in the field in hellish scoring conditions, which is interesting to me. And then we're going to take a look at his recent last bit of strokes gained. And this raw strokes gained should be popping up a little better for him. It is. So he's doing good work. Those are his boxes that Sam Burns checks. Just consistently solid. He's been playing a lot better the last little while. If we go take a look at Sam Burns' situation here. If we're looking at his long-term versus recent form, you know, the last 12 months, he was gaining 1.6 strokes on the field. If you take a look at the last 2 months, he's gaining 1.9. And then in the last month, he's gaining 2.1. So half a stroke better than his 12-month baseline, which is good to see. If you're taking a look at what he does well, it's a lot of mid-iron stuff that you're seeing like green, but that's versus this week. Let's take a look at his ball striking numbers ranking-wise. From 200 plus, it's a problem. Not good at all, Bob. But he's middle of the pack when it comes to like mid-irons and wedges. You know, this is going to be a problem for him from far. He doesn't gain the most total strokes. Like 69th in this field is bad. You know, we got 70 guys. So not good. 67th in poor shot avoidance rate. That's not good. But he's 7th in proximity. So he must be very aggressive when it comes to like hitting those kind of shots, because you don't get that close to the green without being penalized for like water balls or things like that. So I don't know what his deal is. He plays great hellish conditions. We've spoken about that as well, and kind of gets better along the way until Sunday. So that's kind of Sam Burns' profile. But if we're looking at Bermuda putting, he's actually, is this true? Has he been losing strokes on Bermuda surfaces in the last little while, putting wise, where he's actually gaining 1 million strokes on POA and bent? I will double check that. That almost seems unbelievable, but he's solid, man. You know, he's obviously leading the field in putting this year. I will double check the strokes gained Bermuda. That is very interesting. Like, what tournaments has he played that are going to be Bermuda surfaces? RBC Heritage gained strokes on Bermuda greens there. Players, he gained strokes putting there. But you see, these are all, I think, POA Triv. So there's some technicalities between all of that. Where is he losing his strokes? Arnold Palm Invitational is definitely a Bermuda surface. I mean, how is he losing strokes putting on Bermuda? I don't understand. So I will double check that actual metric. It's interesting to me. It could be an interesting glitch. I don't know, but it's worth noting. So yes, that's Sam Burns' thing. Hellish scoring conditions. Good to see him there. You know, no real model ranking versus DK ranking discrepancies. If we take a look at all the boxes that he's checking, top 10 rate and hellish scoring conditions. You know, he's doing good things in those two worlds. Sam Burns, ladies and gentlemen. That is 9th in the model. Then we're going to get to 10th. And then we're going to start firing off at a couple just colorful names that have boxes checked kind of thing. Chris Gotterup, 10th in the model. Chris Gotterup is 13th in DraftKings pricing. So we're getting some value there. He thrives in hard and hellish conditions, particularly hard conditions. He's got lots of distance off the tee. Very impressive when it comes to strokes gained off the tee. He's very in the middle when it comes to approach play. He's been struggling with the putter, and he's kind of tidy around the greens. That's typically his player profile. We'll see how that translates to the various Gotterup situations. Yeah, 6th at the Houston. He came from 1 million miles behind. I kind of like Chris Gotterup from a live ad perspective. His round 4 strokes gain numbers are ridiculous. On Saturdays, he gains half a stroke. On Sundays, he gains 1.5 strokes. So that's kind of where you're in the mood to kind of get involved with Chris Gotterup, is a live ad after round 3 or before round 4. That's what he does. He putts fantastically on Bermuda greens. I would imagine the Sony Open, where he putted nicely there. So he's back on Bermuda. Let's see what he can do for us. And then if we take a look at his approach play numbers, he's 8th in the field in off the tee numbers, 4th in the field in driving distance, 51st in the field in strokes gained from 200 plus. So it's not often you see a guy with tons of driving distance that's this bad of an iron player, and he's actually a better mid-iron player too. You know, he's 18th in the field from 150 to 200. So I don't know what the hell he's doing from 200 plus, given all of his strength. 40th in the field from 150 and out of the rough. So, you know, tough situation there. And Jim Cummings coming in with the absolute, you know, perfect combination of what you want to be adding Chris Gotterup live for. In round 4, he does all of his scoring stuff. Jim mentioned here, Sunday weather looks fun. Chris Gotterup in windy ass conditions is fun. So I'm all aboard that situation. Let's see what Gotterup gets up to. Shout out Jim Cummings. I'm going to be listening to the show that you and Larry did on X Spaces this week. I haven't had a chance. I'm sorry, but shout out Jim Cummings. Let's go. Go follow Jimbo on X and listen to him and Larry chat about whatever the hell they were chatting about. I just saw it on there. I need to go and listen. Maverick McNeely, 11th in the model, doesn't have a top 10 this year, I don't think. Or maybe he had one at the Sony. I can't remember. Not good, though. If we take a look at Mav's profile, I'm very interested to see what he gets up to. 13th in the DraftKings pricing, 13th in the model ranking. All of that makes sense. His best finish in the last 5 starts on the calendar are 16th at the RBC Heritage. He finally popped into the top, 20 there. This Masters was his also first major top 20, which is crazy to think about. Yet he's playing some of the best golf of his career. He's averaging 1.7 strokes per round in the last month and the last 2 months. He's averaging 1.6 in the last 4 months, which is this year, and just doesn't give you the upside that you're looking for. He's solid off the tee, very impressive in that department. He's better at putting on bentgrass than he is on Bermuda, unfortunately. He's a very good putter right now, enters the week as the second best putter on all surfaces, but he's only 28th on Bermuda. So we'll see how that kind of reflects in his situation. He's also a weekend warrior, finds himself scooting up the leaderboard significantly on Saturdays in round 3. From an overall iron situation, nothing really inside the top 10 that's exciting to me. Anything inside 100 yards is barely going to have the opportunity to flex that this week. But he hits a lot of good shots, I guess, out the rough, where he'll be coming from half the time, basically, right? He's quite a poor driver of the golf ball accuracy-wise, so he's going to be in the fairway half the time and in the rough the other half of the time, which is good to see. So 150 and out of the rough, that's good to see. And then the poor shot avoidance of second. So he's avoiding the big numbers, but the good shot rates are also there. That's good to see. We'll just need to see some better performances from him out of the fairway from 200 and beyond for Mav McNeely. Check 0 boxes. Okay. This orange, I think, was for when he was 10th in the field. He's going to take a hit there. So we're going to have to downgrade him to this after I've fiddled with some data. Justin Rose has got the new McLaren irons, so he's going to be starting in pole position when it comes to iron play this week. What does Rosie get up to? 3rd at the Masters, 13th at the Players, starting to find his groove. Now he's got new golf clubs. Justin Rose, top 5 rate of 15%. That's pretty solid. He should find himself at the top of the board here. There's a kind of a bunch of guys that actually finished top 5 a bit more than him. That's good to see. So Rosie, when things are going well, they make a lot of sense. He hits a lot of greens in regulation. Iron play is fantastic. He's actually a very good long iron player. If we take a look at Justin Rose's situation, he will give us a great looking profile on approach from 200 and beyond. Out of the fairway from 200 plus, Justin Rose is 14th in the field in strokes gained. He's also 2nd in the field, gaining strokes out of the rough from 150 and out. So he's a very good rough player. He's 41st in driving accuracy, so he's going to be in the fairway about half the time, in the rough the other half of the time. That makes too much sense, in my opinion. In a field of 70 guys, he's 26th in driving distance, which is still very impressive given his age. So it's nice to see him hitting a lot of good shots from 200 plus as well, gaining over half a stroke on the field in those instances. And he's a pretty bad wedge player from 100 to 150. So luckily not nearly as much this week as we should expect. Let's take a look at Justin Rose's expected proximity buckets this week. Where the hell is the micro model? I've got so many damn tabs down here that I am struggling to keep track of everything. There we go. Rosie, what is your deal, my bro? We can expect Rose to hit, he's going to have 6 shots from 100 to 150, but he's going to have 11 from 150 and out, 7 of them coming from 200 plus. So a lot to like from that perspective of him being a good long iron player. Let's see what Rose can do in that department. All right, moving along to some other names. Adam Scott, spoke about him already. DFS chef, go check him out. Spoke about where you can locate that in the show. Sepp Straka checks 3 boxes. Hellish conditions, significantly better in that situation. When we're looking at hellish conditions, he's gaining 1.6 strokes on the field. That is like pretty solid. It's right up there. How many guys is this? 6. So he's 6th in the field in strokes gained in hellish conditions. If we take a look at Sepp Straka's micro model ranking, he is 10th in the field. It's got a lot to do with the fact that he's an insanely good iron player. Struggles around the greens. He's neutral when it comes to putting. So good to see that. He's also very middle of the pack when it comes to just driving the golf ball. Doesn't gain much, doesn't lose much, doesn't hit a lot of fairways, doesn't have it far. He's just middle of the pack with the driver. But he's elite when it comes to iron play. He's also been struggling a little bit this year. As you can see, we are now in the last 2 months. He's below 1 stroke gained on the field. We'll see if that makes any sense for us when we go to him this week in hellish conditions for old Sepp. But we are definitely in the mood to take a look at his Bermuda putting. It's neutral. You don't want him on bent, and you don't want him chipping on Bermuda. We are chipping on Bermuda this week, but again, not chipping as much as, like we saw, the around the green numbers for Liv didn't really impact their overall leaderboard presence. There were guys that were losing around the greens that were inside the top 10 as well. So Sepp is definitely capable of doing that. He's also been starting off quite slowly in round 1. If you're in the mood to maybe add Sepp live, rounds 2 and 3 is when you want to be doing it. But round 4 is a massive concern for me right now for Sepp Straka, because I had a Sepp Straka outright last week at the RBC Heritage, and I think he entered Sunday with a chance to win the damn tournament and finished like 42nd or something ridiculous. Where did he finish at 42nd at the RBC Heritage. It was an insanely poor performance on Sunday. So he's got some of the Sunday scaries going on. Maybe it's just a showdown round 2, round 3 Sepp Straka situation. I don't know what to make of that. If we take a look at his strokes gained rankings from ball striking perspective, 8th in the field from 200 plus, 9th in the field from 150 to 200. So where we're going to be seeing a lot of shots coming from, he's very good from that range. Top 10 in both areas. Hellish conditions we spoke about already. His poor shot avoidance from 200 plus is very, very good. Doesn't hit a lot of good shots though. So he's just kind of safe. Plays it safe when it comes to 200 plus and beyond. How does he do out of the rough? His strokes gained out the rough aren't the greatest, but he is a bit more of an accurate, I don't know. This is a situation. As long as he's in the middle of the fairway from 200 out, he's going to be very good. And he's likely avoiding disaster from that range. Now, does that happen on a Sunday when he's doing his Sunday stuff? I don't know. But that's Sepp Straka for you. Tommy Fleetwood, we've spoken about. Why is he? Because we're doing micro model rankings. We're going to get back to the model ranking column here. Justin Rose, we've spoken about. Adam Scott, Sepp Straka. Patrick Cantley's now withdrawn. If we do Michael Thorbjornsen, we get him in the mix, 62nd in the field, but we'll add him later. Jacob Bridgman is interesting to me. And I'm curious as if I want to actually bet him top 20 or not, because we just had him finish outside the top 20 in 2 starts for the first time this year. And guess we bet him for the first time this year at the RBC Heritage to finish top 20. He finished 33rd. He had a really bad first round, I think, but that's okay. I'm willing to give Jacob Bridgman a better, luck of the draw. He's a round 2 and round 3 beast as well. Starts off kind of slowly in round 1. That happened at the RBC Heritage, and then struggles in round 4. So middle of the tournament, he's doing his thing. Putts fantastically on Bermuda, struggles a bit on bent, and does well on POA. Obviously won the Genesis Invitational, which is on POA. So Bermuda surfaces, that's where you want to be looking to have Jacob Bridgman doing his putting, and that is going to be 3rd in the field for overall putting this week and Bermuda putting. He's the best on POA, but that's not this week. 3rd on Bermuda is good to see. Interesting situation here with Jacob Bridgman as well. Not the greatest when it comes to strokes gained from 200 plus, but proximity-wise, he can dial it the hell in from 200 plus. It's a weird combination of rankings here. It almost doesn't make sense, but I'm pretty certain that this part of the chart is accurate. I don't know. I don't know what to make of the long iron stuff here. He's obviously, more believable when it comes to 150 to 200 with the wedges, doing his thing there. We'll see what Jacob Bridgman does. I think he's going to have a bounce back week this week inside the top 20 again. If we're looking for a Jacob Bridgman top 20, am I going to be seeing a plus money situation for Bridgman? Yes, we are. Plus 110 for a top 20 for Bridgman. Monitor the socials. I'm going to contemplate betting that outright, betting that top 20 or not. We'll see. Back to the Maniac model rankings. Nikolai Højgaard is going to be a staple for me. I've skipped over Shane Lowry. We can get to him in a bit. But Nikolai is doing a lot of good things. Let's take a look at Nico. I'm super curious as to what the hell is going on with this. But what I want to show you, Houston Open, comp course. Hello, Nikolai Højgaard. Second there. Lost to Gary Woodland. I had the outright on Nico. Tough sledding for us. But that's fine. We can expect him to do better things this week. What does he do well? His long-term form is much better. Over the last 2 months, he's gaining 1.3 strokes. Over the last 12 months, he's gaining 1. So good to see. Improvement this week. He plays hellish conditions better than any of the other environments. That's good to see. He's hitting his driver 1,000,000 miles. He's the 5th longest in the field. He's also 13th when it comes to strokes gained approach from 200 plus out the fairway. He's gaining almost 0.1 strokes on the field every single time he hits a long iron. He's just extremely good from that department. When it comes to putting on bent grass, he's losing strokes significantly, but pretty neutral when it comes to Bermuda surfaces. So I'm a fan of him on Bermuda tracks. I'm a fan of him on long tracks because we can see here the ball striking numbers for him are going to be 17th in the field. And that includes some really bad, metrics in this. I don't know. He's solid when it comes to approach play. Just very, very solid and off the tee. So, yeah, I don't know what excuse I'm trying to make for him there. There's a real nothing burger in my opinion. Nikolai Højgaard. Shane Lowry, Florida golf course. Makes a ton of sense. But the thing is, I think he's broken. Since the second at the Cognizant Classic, we have not seen a top 20 from Shane Lowry. Missed the cut at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Missed the cut at the Players. 42nd at the RBC Heritage. So this is now 3 consecutive big boy events that he hasn't even finished top 40. I think we're going to have to just leave him alone. If the ownership is nice enough, you can sprinkle a bit of Shane Lowry in. Theoretically, he makes a ton of sense because he's a very good ball striker from long. I believe I'm like yawning talking about Shane Lowry here. But I think I'm also about done with the show as well. We are seeing a massive drop-off over the weekend. He's averaging over a stroke per round on Thursday and Friday, and then just struggling over the weekend. Typically does his best putting on Bermuda with some POA as well. Chips fantastically around the greens on POA, and that's good to see. So we got all of that going for us for Shane. If you're looking at the long iron numbers, he's 15th in the field from 200 plus, 37th from 150 to 200. You probably want to be looking at Shane Lowry on these more wedge-intensive venues than the mid to long iron stuff, especially given the fact that this year has been a bit. Feelings on Sam Burns up north. If you want to take a rewind about 20 minutes ago, I was speaking about Sam Burns. I'm bullish on him. I do like the putting. I like the hellish conditions that he plays well in, and I love the fact that he's playing better golf this year. I don't like the long irons that Sam Burns doesn't get up to. So I went through all of that. Go check it out. You should see his profile on the screen about 20 minutes ago. Maniac model. I'm kind of out on Shane Lowry. Rio Assassin, we've spoken about. Jordan Spieth is just, what are we going to be getting? Are we going to get any top 10 finishes from Jordan Spieth? Any top 5 finishes from Jordan Spieth? I don't know. Top 20s? Yes. Let's go. Top 30s, yes, let's go. Top 40s, obviously. The guy is super safe, just not giving you enough upside. Pearson Coody is very enticing to me at $7,300. We should have some good model ranking value on him there. 8 spots different than DraftKings pricing. If we take a look at the Coodster, Coody, we are going to find him at a casual 5th in the field, strokes gained off the tee, 7th in driving distance, 21st in approach play from 200 out on the fairways. And if you take a look at his overall ball striking, he's 21st in the field. So that's good to see. When we go over to the short game department, it gets a little dire. He struggles to chip around on Bermuda. He's actually putted better on Bermuda, though. So good putting, bad chipping. He's also a worse chipper than he is putter anyway, in general. So makes some sense. If we're taking a look at anything else over here, he's a round 1 beast as well. I think you can absolutely look at Pearson Coody. Did we have a Coody tee time early? I don't think so. I think we saw him around noon. Ooh, 9:45. And Pearson Coody for a first-round leader. I'm kind of diving into the first-round leader market here at the end of the show now that we've got some tee times. Coody, where are you? 46-1. I'll take a gamble on that. I think it makes a lot of sense given the fact that he's one of the better round 1 guys. If we just take a look at round 1 strokes gained in general, he should pop up here quite soon. Pearson Coody, there he is. So he is right in the mix when it comes to round 1. I think it makes a lot of sense from a golf course fit perspective for him. This is all stuff that you really want to take a look at for showdown. I think Coody is also a great round 1 showdown option at this golf course. First round leader as well. And we got some really bad golf here after a lot of golf to start the year. We saw him miss the cut, 55th, missed the cut. Finally got a 16th place finish at the RBC Heritage. So good to see him finding his groove again. I'm in on him. Ryan Fox, I'm going to be very bullish on as well. He had kidney stones, had surgery for the kidney stones at the Players, missed the Valspar, missed the cut at the Houston Open in his first start after the surgery, missed the cut at the Masters in his second start after the surgery, and then finished 16th at RBC Heritage, which is something that I'm very bullish on for Ryan Fox. So that's not rocks. Ryan Fox is where we want to be looking at. And Foxy is one of the names that we just mentioned the Heritage finish there. Last month has been bad. It's been bad, surgery, not good. The last 4 months have been the best of the last 2 years, the last 12 months, and those last 4 months include the last month. So I like him a lot this week. He's been playing great golf, great iron player, great ball striker, tons of distance off the tee, very impressive when it comes to strokes gained from 200 plus out of the fairway. That's his jam. And he hits a lot of good shots. He hits, gains a lot of strokes in that department. He is also mediocre when it comes to putting on Bermuda. He does his thing. You never know what he's going to get up to. He's also a round 1 guy. What is Ryan Fox's tee time? That could be a absolute first-round leader situation. At noon, what are his odds? 66. Yeah, I think we can give that a skip. I like the early tee times a lot this week. All righty. Any other names? Siwoo Kim, we've already spoken about. I love what he gets up to. I don't know how much I actually spoke about Siwoo Kim, but, you're going to see a lot of really green boxes over here when it comes to ranking for Siwoo. Hard scoring conditions, he's second in the field. Hellish, 26th, so whatever. But strokes gained off the tee, 6th in the field. Driving accuracy, 2nd. Not the greatest when it comes to driving distance. But he leads this field in strokes gained ball striking. We just saw that on the micro model ratings. Strokes gained balls, there is Siwoo Kim doing his thing, shaking that ass. And Siwoo Kim finishes inside the top 20, 53% of the time. So I was eyeing out a top 20 situation. It's like minus 140. And it's also like, look at what we're getting here. Just like a multitude of random finishes from Siwoo. Not necessarily the greatest situation. So maybe a DFS play for sure. at $9,200, but I'm not going to be betting him this week. Got her up makes a lot of sense. Round 4 showdown, like we spoke about with Jim. Chandler Blanchet is interesting because we have this filtered on what? Round 1? Let's filter it on model rankings. I don't know what. Got the ADSD going on hard. Ben Griffin showing up as well. I want to show you Ben Griffin's. It's been bad. You know, he hasn't finished top 20, but I do want to mention that Ben Griffin from 200 and out is 6th in the field in proximity, but he's actually 46th in strokes gained now. He is typically a much better long iron player. Strokes gained-wise, it's been a rough start to the year. 6th in the field, though, in proximity, though. It kind of tells you a little bit that you need to know. Hits a lot of greens as well. If you're looking for Ben Griffin's putting performances, does okay on Bermuda, doesn't gain a ton. He's typically a bent grass guy, and he chips really nicely on Bermuda, though. And we'll see a lot of true Bermuda chipping this week. Again, we've spoken about the lack of necessity for around the green play to still be at the top of the leaderboard per live data. So Ben Griffin, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. I'm going to sprinkle him into a couple DFS lineups because I think long-term this course makes a lot of sense for him. His current situation sucks. He's not playing good golf at all. And he's also one of these guys that gets off to really hot starts and then kind of whittles away over the weekend. So I think a round 1 for Ben Griffin makes a lot of sense at this golf course. 10 o'clock tee time. Love that. He's probably going to be in the same proximity as Fox over here. 40-41. I think I can dabble in that as well. So I'm going to take a gamble on Ben Griffin for round 1 leader as well. Makes too much sense from that perspective. I love the long irons for him. And, you know, we get a bit of Bermuda surfaces, which he's kind of done okay on. Theegala makes a lot of sense at a golf course like this. I mean, he's just playing so much better golf right now. Anything that you see for Sahith Theegala in 2025 isn't going to make any sense to you. If you take a look at his overall strokes gained stuff, I mean, look at this. In the last 2 years, he's gained half a stroke. The last year, gained 0.6 of a stroke. In the last 4 months, he's gained 1.3 strokes. So he's found his groove in the last couple months and is making his way back to playing better golf. If we take a look at his Bermuda putting, he gains 0.2 strokes on Bermuda surfaces. He also chips really well on Bermuda, which is interesting to note. He's a round 2 beast, gaining 1.3 strokes in round 2. So he will absolutely be in the round 2 showdown realm. Nothing too crazy when it comes to strokes gained from 200 plus. Avoids the poor shots really well and hits a lot of greens from 200 and out from the fairway. That's good to see. And he's 16th in strokes gained out the rough from 150 and beyond. So a lot of good metrics from the long iron side of things for Sahith Theegala, as well as just the overall play. So that is good to see for Sahith. I'm all aboard that train. Smotherman we've spoken about. Yala Miraji we spoke about. Daniel Berger is an interesting candidate to me. It's an API second place finish at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, lost in the playoff to Sahith Akshay Bhatia. If we take a look at what Daniel Berger does best, hard and hellish conditions, he gains strokes in those worlds. He is a ball striker. Fantastic long iron player for Daniel Berger, I would imagine. If we take a look at his best finishes in the last 5 starts, the 42nd at the Heritage isn't the greatest, but it is what it is. If we take a look at strokes gained putting on Bermuda surfaces, though, he gains over half a stroke. He loses over half a stroke in the other areas. So strokes gained Bermuda, let's get Daniel Berger on that venue. And then if you're in the mood, you can bet him in round 4 for like a top 20 if you're sitting outside of that, because he typically gets it going in round 4. Why does Daniel Berger thrive? What does he do on approach? He's just very solid across the board. You know, he's hitting a lot of green irregulations. I think that's going to be a big reason why he's gaining a lot of approach numbers. And he's solid from 200 and out. He's a very solid ball striker. And now we get strokes gained putting on Bermuda. Let's go find it, Daniel Berger. Let's get it. I'm sneaky bullish on Daniel Berger. 33rd in the model. He's $7,100. We've got, 5 points of ranking benefit there. So like that a lot. Like Jordan Smith a lot as well at $6,800. He's just been doing good work, doing good work. Solid across the board in various conditions. He's also one of these ball strikers. Him and Daniel Berger are like identical. It's actually kind of funny to see all three of these profiles kind of similar when it comes to JJ Spahn and Daniel Berger and Jordan Smith. Jordan does have the most distance of the bunch and hits a decent amount of fairways still. So he's a very good total driver of the golf ball. And I think we can expect some good work from him. I don't know why I'm keeping going. I can't stop deep diving, guys, right now, but it is what it is. On approach, he is 9th in the field from 200 plus. He hits a lot of greens from 200 out and avoids a lot of bad shots. So that's good to see. If you're hitting a lot of greens, you're avoiding bad shots. That's just, correlatory stat there. Good shot rates from 100 and 150 and beyond. He hits a lot of good shots out the rough as well. So that's good to see. Gains a lot of strokes out the rough from 150 and beyond. So I think he's a fantastic option from a ball striking perspective on this golf course. We'll see what happens when it comes to the putting on Bermuda. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to do there. He's been pretty neutral in that department. Gary Woodland we spoke about. And I think that's going to be it for me, friends. I'm gassed. I'm Byron, but I'm gassed. And I'm done with today's show. Sponsored by DraftKings. Really appreciate all of you for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe as you jump on out of here. Anything that you want from the Model Maniac Patreon, use code CAD26 to get 50% off. You'll get all these tools, all the Discord stuff. I'm thinking about doing a couple more shows that are member-only shows, doing a deep dive of every single golfer that isn't playing the current tournament. When I do this on a Saturday night, I'll deep dive each guy for the upcoming week, and then there's nothing that's going to change for them when I do that because they aren't playing. And then on Sunday nights, me and Eric Darbo, Sweet Spot DFS, go ahead and break down what happened at that tournament and preview the next week. So we'll deep dive a couple guys that had played that week as well in that show on Back 9 Bets, my OG Back 9 Bets channel, which is on Back 9 Bets on YouTube. This is Back 9 Bets on Mayo Media, where you guys are finding me. So we're going to be doing a bit more stuff on there and getting that into the Discord so we can give you guys some video content that you pay for. So that's nice. If you remember, I want to give you value. And as a result, I'll be doing that. I give round showdown stuff. Every round, there's showdown. That's my jam. Love showdown stuff because we use these round splits to figure it out. So let's see what happens. It's the Cadillac this week. Looking to have a fun week. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you guys soon.